Hello YouTube, you are watching Captain Right with the NOA, and today we're talking about another film that is very similar to Infamous. This film is called Chronicle. Unlike Infamous, which does have a very superhero, Marvel-esque DC style comic book feel to it, this film is grounded in reality, but it is about three teenagers who get powers through a blue electrical artifact that explodes in front of them. Very similar to how Cole gets his powers in the first Infamous game. It centres mainly on Andrew as he descends into madness using his powers out of anger and selfishness. It's also about how these teenagers sort of discover their power, and at first they just have a lot of fun with it, but as it progresses, Andrew becomes more and more aggressive and lashes out towards those that harmed him growing up as a dorky, unlikable, unpopular and weak high schooler. I mean, I really felt bad for this kid, but by the end he just turns into a complete monster, and it's very much like Infamous, where if you decide to be evil in that game because you were this dirtbag to begin with, and instead of trying to be good to try and prove to everyone you're a hero and a benefit to society, you just kind of let your rage out on these people. And that's essentially what this story is. It's very similar to playing Infamous on Evil Karma. The film is also set in Seattle, which is quite funny because in the third Infamous game, guess where that is set? Yes, that's correct, in Seattle. Now, I'm not saying the developers of Infamous 3 watched this movie and was like, hey, let's make the next game in Seattle because of Chronicle. But it's just kind of like a funny coincidence how Chronicle is like an evil playthrough of Infamous, and then before you know it, Infamous 3 comes out and it's in Seattle, the same city. And even in Infamous 2, a lot of the powers were telekinesis based and you could throw cars at people and stuff like that. But ultimately, I will say that Chronicle isn't really like Infamous. Yeah, the premise of a man turning evil because of his powers for power and greed and selfishness is prevalent there, but it's a very realistic film, this, and outside of the powers that you get, it's found footage, it's a realistic setting, it's not about a superhero trying to defeat a big villain like Thanos or anything like that. It really is just a descendant of a madman who gets powers, and how, this emotional drama rises to the point where he just kind of loses his mind and lashes out on everyone, and it leads to his own destruction. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Chronicle and why it's somewhat similar to Infamous, but not quite. I would say that Hancock feels a lot more like an Infamous movie, since that still feels like a Marvel film at parts. This film is too realistic for that, but that doesn't make it bad. I think it's one of the best quote-unquote superhero movies I've ever seen, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. You've been watching Captain Right with the NOA. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to subscribe. Much appreciated. See you next time. Both my ebooks are now available on Amazon Kindle. The New Order of Alexandria is a dystopian sci-fi adventure full of violence, drama, with plenty of gunfights. Paranormal Homicide is a supernatural horror set in my hometown of Runcorn, a murder mystery with a sinister twist. Both of my books are 18+, so you never miss out on the dark and gritty details. Don't forget to follow our Facebook page, The New Order of Alexandria, for everything NOA.